Kenshin1913 along with
Mom.
And today we're doing another Cooking with Kenshin1913. Happy St. Patrick's Day!
Yep, happy St. Patty's Day.
And today we're going to be making a classic Irish-American meal, corned beef and cabbage. And in this episode we're going to show you 2 ways to make corned beef and 2 ways to make cabbage. That's right, you're getting a twofer for this deal.
This is going to be the first type of corned beef that we're going to make.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually having company today, so I'm going to do 2. This is cooked in the oven. Now, everyone has their own specialty of what type of corned beef that they want, either the round cut or the flat cut. I just happened to purchase a flat cut this time.
Mm-hmm.
This recipe is actually from my sister.
Yeah.
Whose significant other's parents were straight from Ireland.
Yeah.
And his mom used to cook her corned beef in the oven with brown sugar on it.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is take these out of the package. I have a large...
So this is, well, let's just explain. This is corned beef, right? You said it's a flat cut, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just a regular old corned beef you can find around St. Patrick's Day, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
usually there's a flavor packet that's in it.
But we're not going to use it.
We're not going to use that for the one that's in the
for the oven.
For the oven. Now, once we take this out, you're going to see this looks great, but I can tell you that there'll probably be a piece of fat on the other side. So this one here, I lined a large baking pan with tin foil, so it'll be less cleanup.
Yeah, heavy duty kind.
Heavy duty. So I'm going to open these up and we're going to place them in here. I'm going to put a little bit of brown sugar on top of it, pat it on, and then put a little bit of water in here.
Well, we'll show this. We'll show this.
Yep, and I'll put it in the oven.
Yeah, you want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees.
Right, and this is going to take about 2 hours to cook.
Yeah.
All right, here we are.
This is one of the corned beefs we took out, yep.
This one doesn't have a heck of a lot of fat, but I'm going to take some of it off.
Yeah, as you can see, we're using a knife, obviously. But be very careful if you're doing this. You might want to get your folks in here to do it if you're, I don't know, not good with a knife or whatever. Or, yeah. So, corned beef, let's talk about that a little bit. It's it's actually a traditional Irish-American meal because actually the people from Ireland actually never actually ate corned beef. It's the immigrants that came to America who wanted to celebrate their the patron saint of Ireland, St. Patrick. They wanted to do that, so they went out and they bought the cheapest beef that they could get, the cheapest cut of meat, and that was this cut of meat. And now the reason why it's called corned beef is because it's like brined in all kinds of spices, and I think one of them is like some sort of pepper, like a corn kind of pepper, so not actually made from corn or something. I don't really know, but yeah, as you can see, my mom's trimming the fat. And most of the times you might have to do this. We might even show like one episode of just how to trim meat in case you don't really know how to do it. But yeah, you just gotta be very careful when doing so. And you just gotta kind of like, as you're doing it, lift the meat as you're going along, or lift the portion you're cutting so that you can get a better angle to cut more of the fat off.
Right, because you don't want to cut the meat, the good meat. You just really want to get the fat.
Yeah. Heck, if you're getting like, I don't know if they like, actually you can like just buy corned beef, not in the package. But if you can do that, I mean, maybe if you have a butcher or something, you can have them cut it for you or whatever. But yeah, this is cutting the fat.
Okay, here we are. We trimmed off our corned beef. We want to leave a little bit of the fat on it because that's where the taste is. Yeah. And then you can just take it off when you're slicing it.
Yeah, and I want to just remind everyone, preheat your oven to 350 degrees.
Right. So now I'm going to take some brown sugar. It could be light brown sugar or dark brown sugar, whatever you prefer. I'm going to put just a little bit on it and pack it. And
yeah, now this is not your traditional corned beef recipe. Again, we've learned this from my aunt and her boyfriend or whatever. his mom makes this, or used to make this. And this is actually my favorite way to have corned beef. The traditional way, we're going to show you how after this, but this is probably my favorite. So what we want to do, like my mom's doing, is just take the corn, or take some brown sugar and pack it out. And make it, I don't know, just pack it in like you're doing like a rub.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
this is going to cook for about 2 hours.
Yep.
Halfway through, so for about an hour, you're going to put it on a timer.
Mm-hmm.
Halfway through, you're going to take it out, put some more brown sugar on it, and leave it uncovered. So what I'm going to do is now just add a little bit of water.
Yeah, because what this brown sugar is going to do as it's heating up is it's going to caramelize, making a nice sugary crust on the brown sugar. I mean, on the corned beef, due to the fact that, like, corned beef, since it's brined, it's usually a saltier piece of meat, and this will definitely help make it tastier and delicious. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take regular tin foil and basically cover it, and then throw it in the oven for an hour, and then take off the tin foil.
Correct, and we're going to take it out, put more brown sugar on it, and leave it uncovered to cook for the next hour.
Mm-hmm. And when we need to take it out for that hour, we'll show you so you can see what it looks like.
Okay. Okay, here we are, an hour out.
For corned beef.
And you can see a lot of juice in here. I'm going to actually take some of the juice out.
Yep.
And then we're going to let it just sit for a few minutes because we're going to add the additional brown sugar on top. Okay, so we'll be right back. Okay, so as you can see, I discarded some of that juice that was in here, but I did leave a little bit because we're going to put it back in the oven and we don't want it to totally dry out.
Yeah. So now what we're going to do is, again, be careful, this is pretty hot. You want to pat down some more brown sugar on the corned beef. And again, like I mentioned before, this will caramelize on the corned beef, making this nice, crunchy, delicious, sweet kind of like crust on it. And it really makes it taste really delicious. Like I was mentioning, corned beef is usually kind of salty due to the fact that they brine it and whatnot. And this actually helps bring out like the nice crunchiness and the it's just really good. And so now we're just gonna pat it down with brown sugar. Doesn't matter which one. And then we're gonna throw it back in the oven for another hour. Again, still at 350 degrees. Right, Mom?
Mm-hmm. Yep, 350.
And that's about it, really. And then we just let this bad boy cook for a while, and then we take it out. And then when we're done, we let it sit for how long, Ma?
Oh, you want to let it sit for about 15 minutes or so.
Before you even try to cut it.
And when you slice corned beef, we'll tell you more about it later, but you're going to slice, so the grain is going this way, you're going to slice it against the grain. That's how you get it to be tender.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is our corned beef that's come out of the oven.
Yep.
We're letting it rest for a little bit, and then we're going to show you how to cook it.
Mm-hmm.
Cut it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you want to, well, we'll show you how to cut it.
Here's our second way of making corned beef. This is probably the more traditional way that people have seen it done.
Mm-hmm.
We have our corned beef all trimmed up and ready to go into the pot.
Yep.
Chopped carrots.
Yeah, how much carrots you think?
You do as many as you like, or how many people you're going to be having. So you can have a few carrots on your plate each. A head of cabbage. Mm-hmm. And red potatoes. If you don't have red potatoes, you can use regular potatoes. That's not a problem. Mm-hmm. Some people don't like the cabbage, so you could omit that as well.
Yeah, and then you have, what you got there, bay leaves?
I put a bay leaf in, and then I have the seasoning packet from the corned beef that actually comes with it.
Yeah, we're using 2.
I'm going to use 2.
Usually they come with 1, but whatever. Anyways,
and then I put a little extra pepper into it.
So we have ourselves a 6-quart pan here. You don't have to use 6 quarts, but that's what we usually use. And you throw the corned beef in. Now there's a tiny bit of water my mom added, maybe like 1/4 cup
on the bottom.
Just a little bit of water. And now what are we going to be adding?
I'm actually going to cut my flavoring packets open and add those.
Yeah. Because the flavoring packets, what's actually in them? Just basically...
It's peppercorn, it's pickling mix. I think it's fennel.
Yeah, there's some interesting ingredients in there. And yeah, they use peppercorns. My research team, aka my sister, told me it was peppercorns that they use for peppering the corned beef. Anyways, then you're going to open up your bay leaf.
Yeah, I'm going to put a couple of bay leaves in. This was my grandmother's way of telling me what to do for it, so I stick to what Grandma knew.
Yeah. And then you throw the bay leaf. Now what?
Now we're going to put in water to cover the corned beef.
So enough water to cover the corned beef.
Turning my oven on high. Excuse me, my stove.
And the boiler thing. And that is a lot of water.
This is what makes it tender. It's by cooking the meat slow for several hours in water. So now what we're going to do is to let this come up to a boil. And then you're going to lower it down, and when we're going to add our cabbage, our potatoes, and our carrots.
Cabbage, carrots, and potatoes. Yeah.
Right. And then we're just going to let it simmer for several hours.
So while we're waiting for the water to boil, let's cut our cabbage, Ma.
All right. So what I did is I already cut some of it, and you'll see the middle part in here. So this is the way I like to cut it, so that you have a piece of that middle part, so the cabbage doesn't fall all apart. So you're going to get a piece of that stalk, and then this is going to get nice and soft as well.
Again, be very careful when you're using a knife. You don't want to cut yourself.
Okay, so see, you're going to have a wedge that's going to go in, and it'll stay semi together, so that when you're taking it out later, it's not all little pieces.
Yeah. So what's your favorite way of eating corned beef now that we're showing both ways?
Oh, I like it both ways. I like the cabbage, the two different ways that we're going to show you.
How to make cabbage and how to make corned beef.
And
that's really it? That's all you got to do?
That's all you have to do.
Wow, I thought you had to. Sometimes they chop it up in tiny little pieces, but that's not too bad.
That's for the next one.
And then you want to, definitely cube or not cube, but cut your carrots in maybe thirds.
Yeah, see, I cut them in different lengths.
Yeah, try to keep them in thirds.
Some people just like them in circles, small circles. You can do that as well.
Yeah.
Any way that you like.
And then with the potatoes, Ma, you're just going to put them in whole, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to use the ones that are a little bit on the smaller side, because they're going to cook the whole way. You can slice them in half if you want, if you had big potatoes, so that they'll cook better. All right, so I'm going to put my cover on here. Wait for this to come up to a boil, and then we're going to come back and I'll show you to add the rest of the stuff. Okay, here we are. We're at a boil.
Yeah, the corned beef is boiling away.
All right, so now I'm going to lower it to a slow medium, so that you'll just have a little bloop coming in. I'm going to add
the cabbage.
My cabbage.
This is so easy. It's so yummy. Well, actually, I'm not a fan of the cabbage. I'll eat the carrots and occasionally potatoes, but other than for me,
I'm actually going to cut my potatoes in half.
Yeah, for me, St. Patrick's Day is more about, well, eating-wise, it's more about corned beef than actually...
Yeah, it makes a delicious sandwich.
Hell yeah, I love the sandwich with corned beef. And what you could do if you want, like, let's say you make corned beef for your buddies or your family, or just yourself, and you actually have leftovers, you can actually use it to make corned beef hash the next day if you want. And corned beef hash is delicious. Yeah, so sometimes you just gotta, so we gotta just stuff this thing full of stuff. And don't worry, all this stuff will reduce and actually shrink a little bit. And so now what are we going to do?
Add some more water.
Add more water. And again, we're on like a medium, whoa, we're on like a medium low here. And that's it, right?
That's it.
Now we just let this bad boy cook.
With the cover on.
With the cover on.
For 2-3 hours.
Yeah, and now what's the heat?
The way that you'll, a medium low.
Yeah.
The way that you'll tell when, of course, your cabbage will cook first, then your potato, and then your carrots. So when everything is fork tender, the vegetables are done.
Yeah.
When the meat also is fork tender, it's done. You'll take it out and let it rest on a plate. Some people also do this whole meal in a crock pot. So you could, that's another option as well.
And so you don't take out the vegetables, right?
No, you don't have to take out the vegetables.
Okay, cool. So we'll be back in what? 2 to 3 hours?
2 to 3 hours. Our corned beef and cabbage is done as well.
Now, how would you know that these things are done? All you have to do is stick
I fork tested them. And as you can see, very easily it goes right in. Same thing with your potato.
Yeah. That's
your cabbage will cook first, and I tested my meat, and it just slides right in.
Yeah, that's the expression. Stick a fork in it, baby. It's done.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoop out all of my vegetables here, and then I'm going to take that corned beef out, and you'll see how that is. This recipe is called fried cabbage.
This is our second way to prepare cabbage. So let us show the ingredients you're going to need.
We're going to need a head of cabbage.
Cabbage, which my mom has cut up, but she'll show you how to cut up.
Onion.
Yep, which we'll cut up.
The potato.
Which we'll cut up.
Vegetable oil.
Or olive oil.
Salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper. So
this recipe is for a lot of people who don't like boiled cabbage. This I've made for a very long time too. My grandmother made this. Some of my family don't like boiled cabbage, and so we started making this, and they absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So you're going to generously coat the bottom of a big skillet with some vegetable oil.
Yeah, but I'm not a fan of cabbage. That's why I don't eat it. But yeah, go ahead.
So it's called fried cabbage, but it's not really fried because you're going to use a lot of water. So just at the very end, it is where the little bit of the frying comes in. So you have your cabbage, and you're going to cut it in pieces. Be careful when you're cutting your cabbage. And here you're going to take that core out because that's hard.
Yeah, unlike before, where we wanted to keep the core, this time we want to take it out.
Right. And we're just going to roughly chop our cabbage up.
Yeah, not too bad, not too hard. Make sure you have a sharp knife, and be very careful when cutting cabbage and using knives. So yeah, all this cabbage is actually going to be reduced pretty.
So it depends on also how much you want to make, how big your cabbage is.
Yeah. So
then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut up an onion. For this whole mixture, I did 1 large onion and then a small onion. And
just want to chop it like that into quarters.
Yeah.
And then just chop it into pieces.
Rough chop.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be precise. Now, it depends on how much you're going to be using. Like if, alright, so, if you're going to be using a whole head of cabbage for this fried cabbage, you probably want to use maybe, what, 2 onions?
Yeah, 2 medium onions, 1 large one.
Yeah, and if you're doing just a half a head and using the other half for,
so you're going to cut it back.
Yeah. And how many potatoes would you say you were using?
And the potatoes, you got to judge them, of course, because they come different sizes. So again, you're going to chunk your potatoes up.
Again, yeah, make sure they're uniform so that they cook correctly. And yeah, use probably. All right, yeah, just let's do this.
So this is about a medium-sized potato, and I used 1 very large size. So that's basically like 3 potatoes. So you could do 3 or 4 potatoes.
Cut those in quarters, and again, or maybe even eighths or whatever. But yeah, you want to make sure that your size is uniform so that you you know, everything cooks pretty evenly. And that's how you cut this stuff.
Okay, we're going to put our cabbage in our pan.
Now
Now remember, cabbage will wilt down.
And we coated this with vegetable oil.
Yep, coated with vegetable oil.
You want to start the heat?
Not yet.
So what you want to do, it looks like, stuff this cabbage in this frying pan. Now, if you don't have a frying pan as big as this, what could you use?
You probably could use a lower kind of a pan. You're not going to be able to put as much of the cabbage, so you might have to do it in batches.
Yeah. All right.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add water to half of the pan.
Make sure it fills up halfway here.
Can you see that going in there?
Yep. Looks good.
Okay. Now we're going to take some of our potatoes, because what's going to happen is as this wilts and goes down and we keep turning it, I'm going to be able to keep adding some more of the cabbage in.
Want to throw some onions in there too? So you got to throw, you know, do about, like, what would you say in the beginning, like a third of everything? And then as everything starts to shrink a little bit, you'd add more and more. Don't worry, all this stuff my mom cut up will fit in this pan.
Okay.
So
now we're going to
start
put a little pepper.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't really know how to make this. This is 100% my mom's deal. Like, this isn't a recipe that I've ever cooked. Again, because I don't really care for cabbage. But I will cook that corn. I do cook the corned beef occasionally. You gotta take off the cap.
I have it. And some salt. And we're going to turn our
heat
stove on.
You know, how long does this usually take before you have to do?
This will take about a half hour, 40 minutes to get it to exactly where you want it. You might need to add a little bit more water along the way as you add some more cabbage, but eventually all of the water will evaporate, and then you'll have just left the cabbage and the potatoes and onions, and you keep stirring it and stirring it. Well, we'll see it at the end.
Yeah, we'll show you too in between, so you know what to look for when you gotta turn it.
So now you're gonna put your cover on.
Yeah.
And then that's gonna start to steam in there. There we go.
So we'll be back when that steams.
All right. Here's our fried cabbage. Now this has been cooking for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And remember, it was really piled high. There's still about half of the pan of water.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just kind of move this around.
Yeah, so this is what it should be looking like as you got it boiling and whatnot. Now, would you add more cabbage and stuff now, or let it cook down even more before you?
No, I'm gonna add a little bit more now.
Yeah, so every like, what would you say, like 15 minutes? We would come back and add more cabbage, potato, and onions. More and more and more until you're done, and then we'll come back and we'll show like what it should look like at the final stage, I guess. So yeah, like every 15 minutes, just keep adding your cabbage and keep adding your onions and potatoes or whatever you're putting in here. Do you want to season it as you go?
Yeah, I end up putting a little bit more pepper.
Yep.
And I'll put a little more salt at the very end.
So this recipe, you kind of gotta, for this meal or recipe, you kind of gotta stick around this thing for a little while.
You gotta remain in your kitchen for a while.
Yeah, you know but it's really boiling. So I guess if you really wanted to go do something really quick, you could just leave it and it'd be fine for a while.
Yeah.
So we'll be back when basically all the stuff is incorporated and boiled and all that.
Here's our fried cabbage, and as you can see, there's might be just a tiny bit of water left in it, but all of that cabbage I got in here with all the potatoes and onions. The last thing that I'm going to do to this before I plate it is just drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil on the top. So that's basically done. All right, here we are at the finished product.
Look at our delicious spread. We've got
the fried cabbage.
We got the
baked one, the corned beef.
Brown sugar.
This is the
delicious
vegetables that we're cooking with the boiled corned beef, which is right here.
Yeah.
And I forgot to tell you that the excess water will show you. You don't have to throw it away from the corned beef, because if you wanted to save that and add extra potatoes and carrots and extra cabbage in there, you've already got all that nice flavoring.
So let's show them how to cut corned beef. Basically, like we were saying, you want to cut against the grain with the corned beef. So let's look at this corned beef here. As you can see, the grain of meat is going this way. So you want to cut it this way. Like that. So let's show you how it's done. The grain is going this way. So you want to cut it this way. Right? I don't know. I think that's how it's going. Anyways, let's cut it. So yeah, look at that. It's going to be lovely. Yeah, so you want to cut it against the grain so that you have, you got some nice tender bits. And you want to let this, if you're taking that corned beef out, you want to let that sit for a few minutes too. So yeah, look at those pieces. Yum. Let's do one more slice. So yeah, that's how you slice corned beef, or any meat really. You go against the grain. And that's about it. Let's enjoy our St. Patrick's Day meal. Alright, here we are with our St. Patrick's Day meal. You got the two types of corned beef. You got your carrots and your potatoes, and you got your two types of cabbage, although we only put one on right now. And a hearty piece of pumpernickel bread, which I like, or rye, which is very good with corned beef. So I'm gonna try. This is the boiled corned beef. So let's try it. Give a taste of the cabbage. Yeah, we got a special taste tester here.
That's Victoria.
Yeah, this is good stuff. This is good. It's a little salty, but very tasty. Come on, give a taste of the cabbage. Come on. Don't be afraid.
I love this stuff. I could eat it all day. Perfect.
Now, one thing you can do is you put it on a sandwich. This stuff is great with, like I said, rye or pumpernickel.
Some mustard on it. Yum.
Now, this one is a tiny bit tougher, but it's a tiny bit sweeter, and it's just really good. I could eat this corned beef, not cornbread, all day. So, anyone want to try the potato? Or the carrot?
Oh, we love the potatoes too.
Yeah.
The red potato.
Another thing you're going to want to make sure to do is bring a lot of Beano when you're eating cabbage. That is for sure.
Yep.
So this has been another Cooking with Kenshin1913. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Bye.
Enjoy and happy eating.